If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles.
Hello, my name is BM Fox and this is the Comintern Doctrine explanation. In this Doctrine guide I'm gonna explain the Doctrine, the unit bonuses, I'm gonna share an entire build order, and I'm gonna explain how you can counter other Doctrines. The Comintern Doctrine has lost a little bit of its glance in the November update where all resources got reduced, but additionally for the Comintern Doctrine the rare materials got reduced as well, so the rocket artillery spam days are over. Nevertheless, Comintern Doctrine stays a very strong Doctrine, especially due to the reduced resources for all Doctrines. The Comintern Doctrine has the advantage as they can produce troops very cheaply. Let's check the Doctrine out, shall we? I'm gonna go to the Wiki, Warfare tab, Doctrines, there we go, scroll down a little bit. Comintern Doctrine is all about quantity. Let's spam those units. Their units are 15% cheaper and their daily upkeep cost is 30%. For those who don't know what upkeep is, to maintain a unit in the field, it needs oil, it needs food. These are the upkeep costs. So when you produce a unit, you don't only have the production cost, but daily you need to upkeep this unit as well. As the cost for both production and upkeep are reduced, you can really just spam those units. Your units deal 10% damage, but hey, if you have a lot more units, who cares, right? Because you get a 15% production cost, so you can make 15% more units, but you only deal 10% less damage, so that's still a win of 5%. Let's go over the unit bonuses now, starting with infantry. Their militia gets 50% extra bonus in the mountains and 25% in urban terrain. This is a huge bonus because they already get terrain bonuses, so this makes the Comintern militia extremely good. Also, their infantry gets a 15% reduction on upkeep cost, and you can produce them 20% faster. For the rest, there are no additional bonuses for Comintern in the infantry branch. In the ordnance branch, they get a 10% reduction cost and 20% reduction time for the artillery, and their anti-tank deals 15% more damage against both light armor and heavy armored units, which makes anti-tank but also the artillery must have units. For the rest, in their ordnance branch there are no additional bonuses. They get a penalty for SP anti-air though. In the tank branch, the medium and heavy tank are very good. They get a 10% damage bonus versus all units, and they are produced in 15% less time. For the heavy tanks it's even better. They deal 15% damage versus heavy armored units, and they get an additional 10% hit points. The air branch is the weakest of all the Doctrines. Basically, don't make any air with Comintern Doctrine because it's absolute trash. Just make interceptors because you need them to protect your airspace, but for the rest, really, don't even bother. There's no extra bonuses, there's penalties, there's only like a small bonus for attack bombers where you can unlock research faster, but that's it. If you go air to air with any other Doctrine, you're gonna lose. Next up is Navy. Comintern cruisers get an additional 15% hit points and their research and upgrades are unlocked sooner. However, their battleships get a research penalty. And finally, the secret branch, their rocket artillery can already be researched at day 1, and also their upgrades are unlocked faster, so this makes this the perfect unit for the early game, especially because it's a unit that counters unarmored units. And also their SP rocket artillery gets bonuses. They get an additional 15% speed and they deal 10% versus all units, so this is amazing. On top of it, you can unlock their upgrades sooner, so that's great as well. Yugoslavia isn't a great country for Comintern Doctrine because I don't have any extra rare resource provinces. I have, however, 2 goods to steal, 1 food and 1 oil. So it's definitely not that bad. But what I lack is rare resources. Now if you're gonna have a look at Romania, you will see that Romania has 2 additional rare resource provinces, but they also have 2 additional goods provinces and 1 food province. So this is a great country to go for rocket artillery. The Polish economy is not that bad neither. 2 food provinces, 2 steel provinces, 1 oil, but also here you lack the rare resources. When you take a look at communist Russia, you can see they have an additional goods, they have an additional rare resource, 2 oil provinces, 1 goods, 1 food. So this is also a very great economy for Comintern Doctrine. On top of it, Comintern Russia is one of the best economies in the game. Russia isn't that great, but not that bad neither. They have rare resources, steel, goods, oil, second goods. Caucasus is not that good to play. They have a lot of mountains, no rare resources. They have, however, 2 goods, 2 food, and a steel province, also an oil. So you can make a lot of unarmored units with this country, mainly artillery, anti-tank, militia. Turkey also has a lot of mountains, which encumbers the gameplay. They have additional goods, steel, food, another goods, oil. So also here you could go for the unarmored units tactic, but however, if you have to choose, Greater Romania would be my first choice and Communist Russia second. Alright, I'm gonna share with you my build order. When you started the game, you will build 1 barracks, 1 ordnance foundry, 1 tank plant, 1 naval base, and 1 secret lab. In the research tab, you're gonna start with rocket artillery. Rocket artillery research takes up to 17 hours to research, so you want to start with that one straight away. For the second research slot, you're gonna research militia. Militia only takes 30 minutes, and afterwards you're gonna produce 5 militia. Why 5 militia? Because this way, in each city, you can put a militia. This way your cities are protected and you can send your infantry to the front because those are more adapted for early aggression. After militia, you're gonna go to the ordnance tab and you're gonna research anti-tank. After that, you're gonna have the time to make 2 anti-tank units. Why? Because anti-tank units, they're very good against light armored units like armored cars and light tanks in the early game. And you're gonna put them in a city which is close to your front line. Next up, once your anti-tank is researched, you're gonna go to the naval tab and you're gonna research destroyer. You want to have destroyers because this way they will keep your coasts free of submarines and they can also spot convoy units. Once you have researched destroyers, you're gonna research here in the ordnance tab artillery. Artillery research takes 2 hours and a half. That's why you're gonna have the time to produce 2 anti-tanks while your artillery is still in research. When your artillery is researched, you're gonna produce 5 artillery. And finally, once your artillery has been researched, you're gonna go back to the naval tab and you're gonna research cruiser. Cruisers are the artillery of the seas and they have a high anti-air value, and Comintern Doctrine gets a bonus for cruisers. So this is great. So when you have done this, you're gonna be in a luxury position like I do. We are now 3 hours 22 minutes from day change and I have 3 anti-air, 6 militia, 2 anti-tanks, 5 artillery, my 18 starting infantry. I've got 4 armored cars, 1 interceptor, 2 destroyers. So in short, I've produced 2 destroyers, 2 armored cars, 6 militia, 2 anti-tank, and 5 artillery. I'm using my artillery in early aggression to take over AI countries, because in the AI cities there are 3 units and my 10 infantry stack would lose at least 1/3 of strength, so this is not what I want. I want to avoid this, especially as you know Comintern Doctrine, they have 10% lower HP. Finally, as soon as my rocket artillery research was done, I've started building those. So everything is now going great. I'm gonna continue now producing rocket artillery, regular artillery, and and cruisers. And as soon as I take a first city, I'm gonna build an airport here so I can produce interceptors to protect myself against early plane aggression like allies players. And in the second city I take, I'm gonna build a second secret lab. In the third city that I'm taking, I'm gonna build a second tank plant so that tomorrow I'm gonna be ready to start producing medium tanks too. Next in the build order is the research of light tank. This way you can unlock the research of medium tank. Once you are starting to research medium tank, you also want to upgrade your tank plant. By upgrading the tank plant to level 2, you will reduce the production time of the medium tank. As upgrading a tank plant to level 2 and producing medium tanks costs a lot of steel, I want to take Sofia, which is a double steel province, and I also want to take Plovdiv, which is also a steel province. With the income from the steel that I take from my spoils of war, I will be able to both build the tank plant level 2 and to produce my first medium tanks. Alright, next up, as you can see, my interceptor research has been completed. I had a free slot while researching medium tanks, so I decided it's the right time for interceptors. Next up, as I said in the first city that I took, I would construct an air factory. Producing at least interceptors is very important so that you can protect yourself against an attack from bombers. Also here I am being counter-attacked by Bulgaria. This is why it's good to have artillery. There were 4 units here in Sofia. If I would have attacked straight away with my stack, it would have cost me too much health, so always have artillery. Comintern Doctrine is the king of artillery with bonuses for both regular and rocket artillery. Next up in the build order is researching a militia, as I want my militia in my cities to stay hidden from level 2 armored cars. I need to upgrade them. Romania hasn't built anything in his cities, he hasn't moved any troops, so he is inactive, so I'm going to attack him. I really need rare resources, so Romania has a lot of resources. I'm gonna take Budapest, here Suceava, and here in Braia. This should set me up with around 3000-4000 rare resources, so let's go for it. Next up in the build order is the anti-air research. You got to have those sweet anti-airs to protect your troops, don't you? Next in the build order, you research level 2 destroyer and level 2 armored car. You want to be able to spot those subs or those militia and anti-tanks that are ready to ambush you, so you need to upgrade them. For construction, it is now day 4. I'm constructing in all my cities level 2 industry, and in my rare resource I am now upgrading to level 3. I also have constructed 5 recruitment stations, 1 each in every city, and I'm gonna try to upgrade them to level 2 as soon as possible. I want to have as much manpower as I can so that I can produce a large army. Up next in the build order is SP rocket artillery and a heavy tank. And that makes all the units that I need, so that is great. To upgrade or not to upgrade for Comintern is a difficult question. As they get the production cost reduction of 15%, it's cheaper to produce units than it is to upgrade them, because their doctrine advantage doesn't count for upgrading. As the cost of upgrading one unit is 15% of the production cost of a new unit, with every unit you upgrade, you're gonna pay 7.5% too many resources. So in an economical point of view, it's better not to upgrade your units, just keep spamming those low-level units and just overwhelm your opponent. This works fine on small maps, however on large maps like the historical World at War or the 100-player map World at War, you're gonna need to upgrade your units at a certain point, because otherwise your units are gonna be too weak and they're gonna be defeated by high-level units. As I've already said before, you always need to upgrade both stealth units and scout units. So stealth units, anti-tank militia units, scout units, interceptors, armored cars, and destroyers. To upgrade the main body of your army, however, there is a trick to save resources. It's an exploit that works for all doctrines, but it's especially interesting for the Comintern doctrine. What you do is the following. First, you spam a lot of level 1 units. Secondly, you're going to research level 2. After that, you're going to research level 3. When the research level 3 is almost finished, you will start upgrading your units to level 2. Logical, because the level 3 won't be available yet. But important is, the research to level 3 needs to finish before the unit has been done upgrading to level 2. As you can see here, units will be upgraded to the highest available level. Although your units are being upgraded to level 2, the highest available level will be level 3. And so at the end of the upgrade, your units, they will become level 3. So you're only gonna pay level 2 and you're gonna get level 3 for free. You can do the same again to get to level 5. You research level 4, then you research level 5. Just before your research is done, you start your upgrade. Once the research is done, and then afterwards your unit upgrade is done, it's gonna be level 5 and not level 4. Once you have invested properly in your economy, then the Comintern doctrine is so strong, unbelievable. It's only day 11 now and I already have 176 units. This is sick. I'm gonna select them all. There we go. I've got 8 cruisers, 4 destroyers, 25 medium tanks, 14 rocket artillery, 6 level 3 militia. I've got 13 heavy tanks, 44 infantry, 10 level 2 interceptors, 12 level 2 anti-air, 11 level 2 anti-tank, 2 level 2 armored cars, 15 level 2 artillery, and finally 12 rocket artillery. I mean, it's so crazy. I've got so many units. I can just flood an opponent with units. Yes, their air force is very weak, but if you have enough interceptors, I don't have enough interceptors. I should have made more, but this map is so inactive, I don't really need them. But if you play a game and your map is active, please keep on popping out those interceptors as well. I have so many units that I'm not even paying attention on how I stack. I've got stacks here, just too overstacked, but yeah, who cares? You just pop out units, you send them everywhere. If you play the Comintern well, it's pretty much unstoppable. Just need to make sure you have enough interceptors, you have enough anti-air units. That's really important. Their weak air force is definitely Comintern doctrines Achilles heel, but how will other doctrines counter you? I'd say as a Comintern doctrine, you need to be aware of each doctrine. They can all be dangerous for you. You want to avoid direct combat with Axis because they have 15% more hit points. They deal 15% more damage. You deal minus 10% damage. There's a damage output gap here of 25%, plus you need to deal an additional 15% damage to kill Axis units as they have more hit points. So you don't want to enter an even fight with Axis. If you enter a fight with Axis, you need to use those superior numbers or you will succumb in battle. Against Axis, you're gonna need also your interceptors, you're gonna need anti-air, because Axis, they have extremely good attack bombers. They're gonna trash your medium and heavy tanks. You have good regular artillery, good rocket artillery, good SP rocket artillery. Use those artillery units to kill as many Axis units that you can without engaging in combat. If you have enough anti-air units in your stacks, if you have made interceptors, you should be fine against Axis. Just flood Axis with all your troops so that you can slip through the lines. Allies are all about optimization, so they are quality, not quantity. So they're gonna have a small army, it's gonna be highly researched. You have a lot of units that are low in research. Also here, be aware if you enter an even combat, you're gonna drive into a brick wall. Make sure that you use that quantity. Throw as many units at those allies as you can. Be aware of their tactical bombers. They're gonna tear to shreds all your unarmored units. So all those artillery, militia, infantry, anti-tanks. Be aware. Again, just like with Axis, make sure you have enough anti-air, enough interceptors, or you can lose against allies. What you also need to be aware of with allies allies is they have very good tank destroyers, also SP artillery, so they can easily counter your medium tanks and your heavy tanks without any problem. The Pan-Asian Doctrine gets a lot of early game bonuses just like the Comintern units, but you have more units, you're slower. The Pan-Asian Doctrine is very fast, but then again you have a lot of units. So if they try to slip through your lines, it's not gonna be possible because you're gonna have units everywhere. Pan-Asian Doctrine, be very careful. Also here, when you enter battle, they have additional terrain bonuses. They have extra view range, so they're gonna see you coming. Again, if you enter combat with Pan-Asian, it's all about quantity. Throw those units at that Pan-Asian player. Make sure you have a lot of interceptors, because the Pan-Asian Doctrine has the best interceptors in the game. If the Pan-Asian player is using Air Force and you're losing your interceptors, you're gonna be setting duck. Be aware of that. Pan-Asian Doctrine has 10% less hit points, but you deal 10% less damage, so that evens out. You have more units, they have their speed. Pan-Asian and Comintern Doctrine, they're pretty much balanced. I think for the Comintern Doctrine that allies and axes are the most dangerous. I hope you have enjoyed this Doctrine guide. See you for the next video. Ciao!